G'day, my name is James Cooper, and I'm going to give you the lowdown on why mid-tier commercial buildings are so important for a sustainable Sydney. Energy productivity is at the forefront and a key driver in the Australian Government's Energy White Paper. Improving building performance is widely regarded as one of the most cost-effective opportunities to deliver energy and greenhouse gas emission reductions, or somewhat of an easy win in the endeavour to reduce Sydney's carbon footprint. Commercial buildings account for about 10% of the nation's overall energy consumption, and commercial office buildings for approximately 2.5%. Given Sydney has about 45% of the commercial office buildings in Australia, you could say the city itself contributes about 1% of all emissions for the country. Premium and A-grade buildings have already undertaken energy efficiency upgrades and either have or are moving towards a Green Star certification and a high NABERS energy rating, generally 4 and above. The rest of the commercial office building sector, the B, C and D grade assets, also referred to as the mid-tier, have lagged significantly in implementing energy retrofits and have lower NABERS energy ratings at an average of 2.4 stars, if at all. And here's where lies the problem in achieving that easy win and reducing the carbon footprint for commercial offices in Sydney. Mid-tier buildings make up about 80% of the commercial office market, roughly around 52 million square metres of office space. Mid-tier buildings are generally under 10,000 square metres with a diverse ownership profile. They have lower level of energy efficiency than premium or A-grade assets, often due in part to being older buildings with original HVAC systems, minimal controls and outdated lighting. It is rare for these buildings to have an on-site dedicated team for facilities management. Vacancy rates are typically higher and lease terms are typically shorter than those of premium or A-grade assets. The ownership profile of mid-tier office buildings is a mix of corporate and non-corporate, foreign and domestic owners with a range of investment strategies, portfolio size and awareness of energy efficiency. Some of the larger owners manage portfolio buildings, while some of the family-owned investments have a single building, which may or may not necessarily be part of their core business. Other owners of mid-tier property include professional industry organisations, universities and other educational bodies, and not-for-profits, including charities and religious organisations. So this brings us to our question. What initiatives or policies can be implemented to improve the carbon footprint for mid-tier buildings? Starting off in Sydney, the regulation and legislation implemented has had various success rates. The Commercial Building Disclosure Program, underpinned by the Building Energy Efficiency Disclosure Act, has had limited success, given it is only triggered by tenancies 2,000 square metres and above. This 2,000 square metre cap is also a problem in implementing the Energy Efficiency in Government Operations policy that aims to reduce energy consumption of Australian government operations. Section J of the National Construction Code addresses energy efficiency requirements but largely impacts new buildings and existing buildings only when undergoing major refurbishment. These standards have limited impact on the mid-tier sector as mid-tier buildings are generally older buildings. In terms of grants and funding mechanisms, the Australian Government Green Building Fund was fully subscribed but was mainly accessed by large organisations due to the nature of the incentive being split to favour the tenant. Environmental upgrade agreements and opportunities offered by the Clean Energy Finance Corporation had low uptake in the mid-tier sector due to lack of awareness. Emissions Reduction Fund is the centrepiece of the Australian Government's policy to reduce emissions. For a building to receive this funding, it would have to undergo large infrastructure improvements, which is just not viable for mid-tier owners. Given the varying success in Sydney, we look abroad to London, a city very similar to Sydney in its commercial office makeup, while also exhibiting a market that has a thirst for sustainability at its top end, but a mid-tier market dragging its feet. One of the UK's most drastic actions is a result of provisions in its Energy Act. From April 2018, it will be illegal to lease out the least energy efficient non-domestic buildings. The standard is set at an Energy Performance Certificate rating of E, or a 4 or 5 NABERS rating for an Australian comparison. The expectation is that this will rise over time in line with the UK's national emissions targets. Once in force, these regulations are set to be a powerful driver for retrofit in the mid-tier commercial property sector. The threat of making an inefficient building illegal has seen a large portion of the market take notice, and initiate future-proofing plans. Similar to Sydney, grants and funding mechanisms have been set up, but with much less take-up, mostly due to an absence of financial backers willing to front the initial loan. London and Sydney may not have cracked the code just yet in making significant inroads in reducing the mid-tier commercial building carbon footprint, but both cities have identified that education is key to moving forward and meeting its energy reduction targets. The business case in capturing the value that sustainability provides is the most enticing. As top-tier asset managers and owners have demonstrated, the returns of acting sustainably are immense, with savings over 50% as well as achieving rentals that are 5 to 10% higher on the back of green upgrades. The mid-tier sector is key to a carbon neutral or even carbon positive city, with a further evolution of the existing regulations and even an adaptation from the ones abroad, in conjunction with promoting education and awareness, this very well could become a reality.